Greetings everyone, this is Jed Schlackman, and in this video I'm going to be speaking about our human body and how it's part of a self-regulating, self-balancing system. This is a holistic view to our body and how it functions, understanding that the body is not just the body. It's part of a system that includes other layers of energy and, of course, consciousness. So the conscious and subconscious levels of the mind and beyond. If we think about how our body operates, we can realize that most of the time we're not paying conscious attention to it, yet there is this amazing intelligence, this subconscious awareness that is actually regulating and balancing things and maintaining homeostasis. So this field of consciousness knows whatever is needed for the body to maintain itself and to function to the best of its ability. When we're in a healthy state, things will seem to be flowing smoothly. The cells, organs, and tissues of our body will appear to be in some form of balance or homeostasis. When we encounter some significant stress or disturbance to that equilibrium is when we usually notice some type of symptom or sign, something that in medicine would be labeled as a disease or disorder of some kind. When people in the healthcare profession are diagnosing those different conditions or disorders, they're in a sense taking a snapshot of that person's body and its state of functioning. They're not perceiving everything that has led up to that moment, so they're not seeing all the different processes and stresses or factors that have led to that disturbance. They're just identifying what's existing in a sense outside of norms or outside of the usual parameters. In order to have better success at helping people in treating or healing different conditions, it is important to take a more systemic and holistic view to see what is contributing to and creating the particular symptoms that you observe. For example, let's suppose someone has high blood pressure. What is actually causing or triggering that particular state? We know that blood pressure is constantly shifting and adjusting, basing itself upon what factors are present, such as what you're eating, your physical activity, your mental stress, and other factors. So the blood pressure is actually constantly adjusting according to those different influences as the body is trying to maintain itself in balance and homeostasis. Therefore, if our blood pressure gets elevated, there's actually some positive reason why our body has elevated the blood pressure. So the high blood pressure is not in itself the problem. It's just a symptom that we're under some form of stress or pressure for which the body has needed to cope or adapt by increasing its blood pressure. If we want to treat that high blood pressure, if we only use the superficial way of looking at it and just give some type of a medication that's designed to force the blood pressure to go down, we could actually be aggravating some underlying problem. And we're not really resolving whatever stress or issue is present that triggered the high blood pressure. this same concept can be applied to many other health issues where we have some type of a symptom, which is just the observable or external manifestation that's indicating some stress is pushing the system to have to adjust to that stress or react to something. If we're sick with a flu or cold or something like that, the symptoms we see, in a sense, are actually our immune system as it attempts to cleanse or clear something out from the body that is causing a stress. So the symptoms are actually part of our body's healing process. They are not the stress itself. With psychological conditions, we may observe that someone appears anxious, they may appear depressed, they may appear agitated or have difficulty concentrating, they may have problems with sleeping, difficulties with their eating patterns, some type of habit or addiction that's present. So those could be labeled in some way as a psychiatric diagnosis, but just giving that diagnosis or definition to the observed symptoms doesn't tell the story of what created that symptom, of why the person is acting or reacting in that particular way. Sometimes there are physical level stresses. A person may be malnourished, they may have been exposed to some type of toxic chemicals or some type of drugs that they've taken that is creating those symptoms. They may have some type of trauma that they've experienced, some major stress in their life that their mind is trying to cope with. There are a variety of possibilities, and if we don't explore, if we don't look to see what those possibilities are, we may only provide a superficial form of treatment, some effort to compensate for or suppress the symptoms, which in reality is working against our body's own self-regulating and self-balancing mechanism. So by trying to counteract that natural balancing and coping mechanism, we may create additional challenges or problems. So rather than being short-sighted or superficial, we want to look at things more systematically to understand ourselves as a system, and a system that's actually not a closed system, but an open system, since it involves our body, our mind, our spirit, our external physical environment, our external social environment. So all these different factors are part of this system, and the system is always shifting and evolving. And that's why we have those balancing mechanisms, because for any organism to function and survive, it needs to constantly be monitoring its surroundings, the systems that it's a part of, in order to adapt and maintain some type of balance or equilibrium. I encourage each of you to really pause and consider the vast intelligence that is present with this system, this means of maintaining inner balance. When we see ourselves in some distressed state, where we have some type of mental or physical disturbance or condition, we want to understand that there is some inner mechanism that's seeking to cope with some stress or some challenge and trying to maintain balance in the best way that it can. And so what we think is a disease, some type of disturbance or illness, can actually be the effort of that system to preserve some form of equilibrium, even in a very difficult or stressful circumstance. When we take this into consideration, it allows us to be more productive and more expansive in the way we're able to support our health and well-being. We can search out and uncover the actual roots and causes of whatever condition or disturbance we're experiencing. We can examine our nutrition, our diet, our living situation, our thoughts and beliefs. We can uncover things that are stuck in our emotions or our energy field, so unreleased emotions or unresolved traumas, the things that are in some way interrupting or congesting our energy flow, interfering with the current of that life energy as it streams through us. When that energy is streaming, when it's flowing freely, naturally, then we'll tend to be healthy. We'll have energy and vitality, and our body will function to its optimal potential. It will be able to maintain a homeostasis, a balance. It will be able to keep the cells in our body nourished, and it will also be successful in clearing away any toxins, any metabolic waste that's being generated, anything that could interfere with one's health. From moment to moment, all the systems of our body are performing their functions and roles, doing what they can to maintain health. They know what they're doing. If we see ourselves in a state of disease or declining health, we want to look at what's interfering with our body's ability to sustain its well-being. Giving some type of pharmaceutical drug or surface level treatment is generally not a solution. In some circumstances, it may play some role in maintaining a temporary surface level homeostasis, but it can't produce a deeper systemic level of balance. We want to foster or provide balance through the whole system. Since everything has to work integratively, it all has to function together. If one part of your body is disturbed, that could affect the rest of the body, and vice versa. If your brain isn't functioning to its optimal ability, if it's been stressed or injured in some way, then you'll notice that may affect other parts of your body, since the brain and the nervous system are part of how the rest of your body are being maintained and regulated. We could say this for just about any organ or tissue, for our skin, for our muscles, for our digestive organs, for our cardiovascular organs. Everything has to function and work together in some sense. Every cell in your body needs to have its nourishment delivered. There are sensory neurons throughout our whole body, since we have to sense our environment. Every part of our body is part of that sensory system. Everything is connected to the nervous system, the endocrine system, to that intelligence that needs to be able to monitor and maintain things. I hope that this explanation or discussion is giving each of you some insight into the very complex yet simple way in which our body functions as part of a more holistic system. It's complex in the sense that there are multiple levels and sort of an infinite number of parts or cells in this structure that exists. It's simple in the sense that there is a unified intelligence at work which has this vast amount of information at its capacity to process. And so it is doing that in every moment. It's maintaining our well-being. And when we see some sign of distress or disease, we can consider that in a more holistic way and not just apply some type of temporary symptomatic intervention, but actually look at the whole system to find what's pushing that system to react in the way it is, what's triggering the symptoms, what's fostering imbalance, what's interfering with the flow of life, with the natural state of health that we all have access to. For those that are interested in holistic health and well-being and wish to learn more about this whole system, the mind, the body, the emotions, the energy field, the chakras and meridians, the metaphysical and subconscious aspects of our being, I encourage you to watch more of my videos on YouTube and also to visit my website at www.phinsights.com. That's PHINSIGHTS.com. For now, I'd like to wish each of you a wonderful day. Namaste.